We live? And we are live. Hello,
Yay.
everyone. Welcome back to another Anthwood Movie Mania. And today it is live interview time because my special guest is an author, a horror buff, and a Buffy fanatic. Maybe even more than me. I'm not sure, but we'll find out later in the stream.
We will.
So,
thank you for asking me to come on. I love talking about Buffy. I can talk about it all day.
Oh, well, we will get to that. But no, thank you so much for coming on because I know we've had this plan for ages and it's just been with the time working out and everything. But I just want to say thank you for coming on because it means a lot when people do agree to come on the show, come on my channel just to talk, just to shoot the breeze and talk about stuff. So, yeah, welcome to Anthwood Movie Mania and welcome.
Thank you.
I'll put the applause in later. I'll edit it. Right, so she's gone. Right, so my first question of the day is, how is your morning going?
Do you know what? It's good. Mornings are all a bit go to school, get everybody sorted for work, and then I mostly work from home, so I don't need sorting. It's everybody else who needs to just get out the door. I didn't do the school run today, but yeah, it's always. I assume it's similar. I think you mentioned you've got child or children, so yeah. I'm sure you know the drill of. Mornings are just a bit busy, so this is normally the time where I sit down to work, computer in front of me and do some writing or something.
Yeah, I've just sent mine off to school now, so this is the time where I actually get to do all my YouTube stuff where I've got 3 hours in the day to do it, so that's the only time I've got a chance to do it.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right, so before we get into Buffy, I would like to talk about the author side of your career, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So at what age did you want to, did you realise you wanted to start, writing?
From being a young child. I can remember being in my mum and dad's bedroom and talking to my mum about Enid Blyton and her saying that Enid Blyton is a person who writes books. And I was like, what? I've been reading them and I'd not even really thought about where they'd come from. And I was like, that's a thing that you can do. And I used to think that Enid Blyton wrote the books out by hand and had really neat handwriting. So that was what I thought the authors did. I thought that they wrote books by hand. And then when I was about maybe 10, an author came into school called Jean Ure, and she said, does anybody in this room want to be an author? And I shot my hand up straight away. I was like, I've always wanted to do this. I've always written stories since being really young. And then I used to be a teacher and I found that I didn't have any headspace for writing at all because it's just really all consuming. You're really dedicated to your class and your marking and assessment. So I'd got all these ideas and I wrote a bit during school holidays, but then I left teaching for a while. And it was then that I'd suddenly got time and I suddenly got headspace. And I wrote the first Mina book and that was it. I got a publisher. It took me a while to write it. Got an agent, got a publisher, and then that's it. I'm kind of on the publishing treadmill now.
Oh, amazing. Wow. So is horror something you've always wanted to write, or has there been other genres?
When I started to write the Mina books, I knew I wanted to set a book in New Orleans, and I knew I love romance. I knew it'd have a bit of romance in there and a bit of a mystery, but I didn't really know. I just started planning it and writing it to see what would happen. But the first books I can remember being really obsessed with are the point horror books when I was about 9. So I think that they left a really deep impression on me. These really quick, fast-paced, fun. You're trying to figure out who the killer is. You don't know who to trust. And I think that because I found them at such a young age and I'm still reading them now, they just had such an impression on me. And then I jumped from that to Stephen King, and he's still a literary idol for me as he is for many, many horror writers. Well, all of us probably. I put together a horror anthology a couple of years ago called A Taste of Darkness, and we did a panel of about 6 of us, and we went down the line, what is your first memory of horror? And all of us said point horror, Stephen King, and we were like, oh, very unoriginal. Yeah, so I think since then, I've always wanted to have a touch of horror, and as you mentioned, Buffy is such a big influence on me, and I love the fact that Buffy goes from humor to horror to drama, and that I think is what my books feel like as well, that they've kind of, when people say, what genre do you write? I always go, have you got 20 minutes for me to explain it? Because I just don't know. It's just everything.
So when you're writing a book, how hard is it to come up for an idea for a story?
That's the hardest thing for me because there are no new ideas. Every idea has been done. I think Christian Slater said it in Pump the Volume. Every good theme has been used up and turned into a theme park. So you always have that kind of doubt of, is this a new idea? And I can tell you now, probably not, unless you've kind of somehow tapped into some combination of things that already exist. So I find that hard. I find it hard to know if an idea has got mileage, but suddenly I'll think of something and then 6 months later it'll come back to me and I'll not be able to stop thinking about it, and it'll start to kind of grow legs and develop in my mind. And that's when I know that it's going to be a book. Like, I've started writing a children's book, and it was just because I was meant to be writing something else and I couldn't stop thinking about this little boy character. And I was like, oh, okay, I know what's happening here. I've been through this before. Whereas some of my author friends, they get thousands of ideas. Like Mia Kuznia is just, she's like a machine. Like, if you say to her, think of 10 book ideas for yourself, she could just reel them off. Think of 10 book ideas for me. She's got book ideas for me that could keep me going for my whole career. But I'm not really that idea led. I'm somebody that once I've got an idea, it takes a while to nurture it and to grow it. I think the next 3 or 4 books that I want to write, but not much more than that. And things just spark off an idea in my life, or usually places I go. I'll go to a castle or I'll go to an underground space and it'll just spark off an idea, and then I have to sit on that for about 2 years until I can actually write it. So it's probably not the best, but it's just we all get it is. But I think with authors, you talk to some people and they write a 15,000 word outline. Some people write no outline and they don't know until they write it. And I think the interesting thing is that whatever weird or often stressful process you go through, you still get to that book at the end. And, you know, if you've got a book deal, you know it's going to be a book at some point. So you just kind of have to trust the process for you. I'm realizing that more and more. Sometimes I think I do things in a really roundabout way, and I write a first draft and then, like, I'm just working on my second draft now. And one of the characters was just missing. I needed an antagonist and I just didn't have one. So I'm laboriously going through and adding a character that didn't exist. And if I just thought of it for the first time, that would have been great, but I didn't. So now I've got to deal with the consequences.
So you've got to, add them into other bits of dialogue.
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yep. Every conversation and every scene, it's in a school. So in every classroom they're there. I did the same thing in Mina 2, Mina and the Slayers. I absolutely fell in love with the character that was meant to be the killer and was meant to die in a blaze of glory. And I was like, oh no, I need him for the next book. What am I going to do? So I made somebody else the killer. And again, I had to insert a whole new character.
Well, that sounds so frustrating. To have to rework everything back into place for one person.
It is. It feels like a puzzle, though. I like that about editing. I love every stage of writing, really. I like that first draft where you can just see the word count growing and you feel it just coming real before your eyes. But I really like editing and just shaping it, because, you know, when you've written a first draft, you're like, oh, yeah, this is not very good. Nobody will ever see this version of this book. But I just trust that, although it's frustrating, and although, yes, I've got to add a new character, or in my children's book, the atmosphere isn't quite right. So I'm doing a lot of making it feel like that time of year, making it feel like a real sense of place. And none of that comes to me in the first draft. That all just has to be layered in later.
So, well, I think you kind of answered that there for me a little bit, but I've got the question, so I'll ask it again.
Yeah, go for it. Do it.
So, how long does it take to write a book, and when you're creating characters and putting them together? I think you just pretty much answered it there, but
I did sort of. Yeah, so, no, it's fine. I mean, this is probably a slightly different angle on it anyway. So for context, when you don't have a book deal, I think it can take a long time. So the first Mina book, I started writing it without a publisher in mind or anything in about 2016, and I think I finished it in 2018. Publishers, that wouldn't fly with them. You couldn't just say, oh, you know, the book will be done when it's done. I think some authors do that who have a lot of power. I'm not one of them. So when it came to the second Mina book, the publisher wanted it and said, how fast can you write it? And I was like, well, how fast do you want it? And they were like, in 3 or 4 months. And I was like, 3 or 4 months it is, that's fine. So it just depends. But because that world already existed, it was fine. I could write it in 3 or 4 months, 1,000 words a day, just keep chipping away at it. I don't have loads of time to write. So it's just like that for me, 1,000 words a day for 90 days until the book's done. So yeah, a first draft in 3 to 4 months, but I would say it generally takes about a year, which luckily is how often publishers want a book from you, to do the draft, do all the edits I want, do all the edits they want. But like I said, the idea stage for me, my Dracula retelling that comes out in September, I thought of that before the Mina books, probably 10 years ago. And I've been sitting on it and I didn't really know what to do with it. And at the time, I couldn't think of any. There are a few Dracula retellings now, but at the time, there weren't any kind of mainstream ones. So I was like, why has nobody tackled this book? And every time I tried, I was like, that's why, because it's really difficult. There's a lot of moving parts in Dracula and there's so many characters and so many viewpoints. And I didn't know how to do it. I knew I wanted to do some mixed media, but had no idea how to execute that at that point in my career. So it just really depends. Every book is different. And this Dracula one, I kept picking it up. And every time I started writing it, some more Mina edits would come back. And I was like, oh, put it to one side. So the Dracula book took me ages as well. But again, I wrote it without a publisher. I wrote it and then went on submission. So it just really depends what stage of you are you interested in writing?
Do you know what? Interestingly enough, I did have an idea going back about maybe 10 years ago, but I came up with an idea and then it just kind of fell off the rails and I just like completely left it. But so do you want to hear it? So
Yeah, do it if you're happy. I don't like talking about ideas, so go for it. I always keep my ideas close, but if you like talking about them, absolutely go for it.
If you want to run with this idea, because obviously I probably haven't got the right thing in me, but if you want to go with it, you get 100%.
You never know.
Whatever profits with it. So my idea was, it was called The Loch. So it was based in Scotland around the Loch Ness, and this reporter was being sent there to report on the Loch Ness with his wife, and they're staying in this little cottage, and the husband comes back to find his wife has been killed, and he's been set up for, like, he's been practically like blamed for his wife's murder, but he gets off with it, and then he leaves, and then 10 years later he comes back to try and figure out who murdered it. Like, he has finally, like, after all the guilt of his wife being killed and everything, he comes back to the loch to try and solve his wife's murder. But in the process, he finds out that the town itself has loads of secrets, and it unravels the plot to his wife's murder and how it all happens, because the town want to keep the Loch Ness a secret. And he was like on the verge of like uncovering the truth, and they wanted to keep it secret to keep him out of the town. So that was my
really
idea.
Fun. Yeah, do you know what? I absolutely love cryptid stories, and I love. It sounds like it could be like an eldritch horror kind of feel as well. Like, I think that sounds really fun. And you say you haven't got the writing thing in you, but I really think that if you read and if you watch films and if you watch Buffy, like, you've learned about story and craft, it might be worth just trying it. Just try and write a few hundred words and just see what happens, because the nice thing of not writing for publication is you're just writing for yourself at first, so you don't need to show anybody. Take as much time as you want. I think it's worth exploring. It sounds really fun.
Oh, well, I just thought I'd give my idea out there.
Yeah, do it. Get it, put it out there. No, that sounds really good. It sounds. There's a book called Direct Descendants that I read recently, and it doesn't sound anything like that. The only thing is there's an eldritch horror that lives beneath that town, and the townspeople keep it safe. And it's quite a kind of cozy, whimsical book. But I like that, how a community can come together around something. And in the case of that community, it's a little bit dark, but it's kind of more like a comedy take on it. But I think that as a horror, that can be really effective. I don't know. I think you should try and do something with that.
Yeah, I did have an idea for the cover. It was like the guy was like standing on like a wooden, like an old rickety wooden pier, like overlooking the loch, and then like the full loch's like covered in mist, and then I can't remember I had like a mint tagline for it as well. It's like everyone has a story to tell, and everyone has secrets. And this is my story, and then the loch and like big letters that just like slowly come towards you through the mist.
That sounds cool. It sounds like a horror movie, actually. Like, I can hear the music and kind of see it moving through the mist, like the lettering.
Yeah, that's one of the ideas I had, but it'll probably turn into nothing, I imagine.
I mean, all you need to do is write 100 words a day, and then in how many days you've got a book. Like, that's all it's been for me, a daily writing habit. And even if I don't have any time, I make a point of writing a couple of 100 words or editing a couple of pages, just because that's the way you move forward through the book. Like the kids book that I'm writing, I think I've got about 60 pages of it so far. So if I edited 1 page a day within 2 months, I'd have edited the whole thing. And it's just building that habit for me.
So how many like words do you need a page?
Oh, it's difficult because it just depends on like the font your publisher comes up with. Like my new book, I think is, oh goodness, how many words is it? I think it's 95,000 words or something like that. It might have even hit 100,000 in the end. And I thought, oh, this is going to be the longest book I've ever written. I don't like reading super long books, so I was a bit nervous. And it ended up being like 380 pages. And I was like, oh, that's fine. And it's just a case of they move the margins and they change the font and they get it to the number of pages they want, because paper is so expensive. I don't think publishers want really long books at the moment either. So yeah, I think it depends on your genre, but I tend to go by overall word count. So for my children's one, I'm looking at 35 to 40,000 for a younger middle grade.
Yeah.
And then if you've got anything with a fantasy slant, you can make it a little bit longer. And then if it's a thriller, a YA thriller seems to hit about 70,000 words. So I tend to go on like the genre of what I'm writing, and then mine are usually on the longer side just because I can't stop when I've got ideas. They just keep going. But yeah, the Mina books are, I think the first one was in the 70,000s, and then the other two were in the 80,000s for like a horror mystery.
Oh well, that sounds good. Right, my next right, I've got all these questions and I keep losing my place, so I do apologize.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm not a professional. I always say I'm not a professional on here.
It's just for fun. We love the same things. We like talking about what we enjoy, so it's fine. I interview authors and I always send them the questions in advance, and I say, I know that I'm not going to stick to these, so this is roughly the guide of what I'm going to do. But yeah, that's the main thing I use my YouTube channel for now: wrap-ups, TBR, and then author interviews, just because I don't have any bandwidth for anything else really. Right.
Now, I have seen you like to visit Whitby. I mean, we discussed, like, we talked about that the other day. Like, I like to go to Whitby at least twice a year, just because for the, the nice views, the arcades, and nice walk around, because it's like the scenery is like really nice. Do you know what? At some point, I've been wanting to do, because like obviously you say you love Dracula and everything. I've been thinking of an idea to do like a tour of Whitby, like starting from the top, not at the Abbey, at the other side. Do you know where the whalebones are?
Because where the bench is.
Yeah, but that as well. But the hotel behind it, I don't know if you know, but the hotel behind it, like they've got like a plaque on there. Did you, if you know about that?
I don't know. I don't think I've been there. I've done most of the locations, I think, but I've never actually looked up to see whether I've checked them all. I've just gone to the ones that I remember from the book.
Yeah. So at the top, do you know where the hotel, like where the whalebones are, and then you've got the hotels that are on like a curve?
Yeah.
There's a big plaque on one of the hotels, like on one of the doors, saying that like Bram Stoker stayed in that hotel, like overlooking, like into the Abbey and the harbour, and like it says like that's where he came up for the idea. So like there's like a big plaque saying like where he stayed in that hotel.
That's cool. There is a YouTuber that I've now totally blanked on the name. I'll have to send you it. I think it's Grim something, and they go around spooky locations in the US, and they're from the US, but I think they travel to the UK as well. And they did like a Jack the Ripper one where they went around London and went to kind of key locations. And they've been to some amazing places in the UK. They went to this, I don't know, there's like the Knights Templar or some secret society. And it was this amazing underground like cavern space and all these caves that they dug out. And I always think it's really interesting. I'm really into history and visiting places like Whitby where you can go to ruins and you can go to castles. And I love when somebody can kind of use a really interesting narrative style to talk you through it. So I think that's a really good idea. I'd watch that.
Yeah, my other like locations would be the bench, like you said. Then it'd be that tunnel, the Witch's Tunnel, going through there.
I've only discovered that recently. It's really cool, isn't it, that tunnel?
Yeah. It's a bit. Obviously, I've got it. Like, yeah, but then it'd be the beach where the Demeter like thingy's in, and then it'd be on the steps, like the 199 steps. saying that, did you know? Because like I only found out this a couple of years ago off my dad. The exact way to count the 199 steps. Did you know? Did you know about this? So
no, see, we try and count it every time, and every time we get a different number.
right, so because like our dad told me this, and there's a way you can do it. So when you start at the bottom and you count your first 10 steps, every 10 steps there's a metal Roman numeral attached to the step with an X, and then it'll go up. Every 10 steps goes up another 10 steps. So you get like X and then 20, 30, and then you finally get to the 100, then you finally get to 190, and then you just count the 9 steps to the top.
Oh, I didn't know. I've never noticed. Do you know, my son always notices stuff on the floor. He's probably putting them out to me, and I've gone, oh, I don't know what they're for. That's really good. I'll have to look for them next time.
Yeah, so it's just your first 10 steps, and then you'll find the X, like a little circle, like stapled to the step, and then it's just every other 10 steps, and then you know where you're at.
Oh, amazing. We quite often, we park at the Abbey generally, do the Abbey and then walk down, but I could do that backwards because I could count 9, couldn't I, and then do my 10s.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's probably
I did I did the Dracula experience last time as well. Have you done that before?
Yeah, I've. Do you know what the one in Scarborough used to be the better version of that? I don't know if you've ever been to Scarborough.
No, so the guy who worked there, I got talking to him because obviously I was telling him about my interest in Dracula and that I'd written a book and stuff, and he was telling me about the Scarborough one, and I've not been to that before.
Yeah, I don't know how much they'll have changed now because I haven't been in there for like a lot of years. But it's completely different to the it's a miles better version of the Whitby one. But that's another thing I'd probably put in the video. The Dracula, like the outside of Dracula's experience, like I'd probably put that as a front maybe or the Abbey.
Yeah, they've got. He's now. I don't know whether you've been recently, but he's just got a throne as well. That you can sit on as like a photo op just inside. I don't know whether he said was it something from the film. I don't know whether it's a replica or something from the film. I can't really remember because it's kind of geared around the like the 90s movie version, isn't it? The Whitby one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my video finish like in the Abbey, like overlooking everything.
Yeah.
Like in the graveyard. That'd be like the end of my video.
Yeah, I mean the Abbey and that little bit. Oh, sorry, I just lost you for a second there. I missed that.
I was saying in the graveyard. Have you seen the gravestone with the skull and bones on?
Yes, has that got some significance?
No, it's meant to be like a pirate's tombstone.
Oh, really?
Like it's got no name. It's just got like a skull and bones on. That's like no matter how many times like I see it, every time I go back I always forget where it is. So like it takes me forever to find it.
We went in the church last time because quite often like it's either closed or there's a service going on, and it was open to have a look around. And I love going in churches, so I walked in, and as you walk in the door, it said, "Please don't ask us where Dracula is buried because he's not real," or something like that. And I was like, "What? People ask where Dracula's buried? It's like seriously." So I thought that was really funny. I took a picture of it. And I guess this is where like the fiction and the real it can really blend together. That's what I was interested in the Mina books because the Carter brothers myth I based the first book around. A lot of people believe that they're real, and there is newspaper evidence that maybe there were 2 brothers who kill people and stuff. But I don't believe that they're actually vampires. But some people believe that they still live in New Orleans, or they've moved away and they come back and visit every so often. And I'm always interested in that, where like the real kind of blends in. Like some people think obviously that Dracula is real, and like maybe they've kind of conflated him with Bram Stoker a little bit, like the author kind of becomes the monster. I just thought that was really interesting.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good spin on a novel, wouldn't it?
Yeah, honestly, as I said it, I was like, something just went ching in my head then.
All right, so so a recent one that you've came out with is Mina and the Undead. That I've seen like a recent picture of that. Can you give us like a little insight to what that's about?
Yep, so it's the first book in a trilogy, Mina and the Undead, Mina and the Slayers, and then Mina and the Cult. And basically, Mina initially goes to visit her sister in New Orleans, and they become a bit estranged, so it's a bit fraught. Their mum had disappeared a year before, so they're just kind of trying to rebuild their relationship in this amazing city. And Mina, like me, is obsessed with spooky stuff, and she even gets a job in the horror movie experience where Libby works. And things are going great. She's visiting cemeteries. She's having a great time until she finds a real dead body in the horror movie experience. And she realizes that there are bite marks on the neck that look suspiciously like the vampires from the stories. And she realizes that people being murdered in the style of New Orleans myths, and her sister becomes the main suspect. So she has to prove that Libby didn't do it before one of them becomes the next victim. ...
And in September, you have another book coming out called They Own the Night. Would you like to give us a sneak peek on what to expect?
Yeah, so this is my 80s Dracula retelling. So I was very much leaning into The Lost Boys. It still has Buffy vibes because I can't not. And in my take on it, Dracula is called Vlad. He's a reclusive rock star who disappeared from public view 3 years before. And he's invited a young reporter to go to his reclusive island and interview him. And Johnny straight away realizes that things are a bit weird. He only comes out for interviews at night. There are rooms that he's not allowed to go in. Meanwhile, Mia, who is the Mina character, is his sister in my version. She has a true crime radio show, and she's investigating some murders that are happening around the university campus. And then she finds the body of one of her friends, and things start to kick off a bit. So yeah, it's got similar vibes to Mina. It's a murder mystery, but at its heart, it is a Dracula retelling. So it's my take on, I've put all the things I like from Dracula into it, and some of the things I don't like the more boring bits where, to me, boring, where they go and try and find the box of dirt. I just got rid of all that. I was like, I don't need 200 pages about trying to find the new box of dirt. So the fun thing with a retelling, I think, is that you can kind of lean into the stuff that you liked. Like I liked Mina being, in my mind, the strongest character, who really drives the plot. I was always really saddened by what happened to Lucy Westenra, so I have my own take on that. And yeah, it was just really fun to kind of follow it, but also to just add my own kind of crazy stuff that happens, which when you read it, you'll find out. I go down a bit of a new angle for Dracula, I think.
Did you, speaking of like the New Orleans thing, did you ever watch the Interview with the Vampire series on BBC?
Not the BBC one. So I'm obsessed with the Interview with the Vampire book and the Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise film. So I tried the BBC one and I was like, oh, I watched 2 minutes. So I just went, this is too different. I just need a minute to process it. And I've not gotten back to it yet because I know the book and the movie so well. And the movie follows the book pretty closely. You know, when something's just so different and it just feels... What people have said to me is don't watch it as Interview with the Vampire, watch it as its own thing. And I was like, I probably need to do that. But I was just so shocked that, like, I think, is it Louis owns a brothel or something? And I was like, this is not the story that I know. So I kind of had to set aside. Have you watched that version?
Yeah, I watched both series. Because like the first season, because like obviously in the film, like the New Orleans bit, it only like lasts about 20 minutes, doesn't it? Like, and then move on. But in the first season, I think it's like 10 episodes to just focus on the New Orleans. So like you do get like a good expansion of like everything around.
Okay, that's good.
But then in season 2, the focus everything on Paris. Like with the stage show that it goes like proper deep into all of that for that season. But then this year they're on about they're bringing a 3rd season out. I think it's like nowish time that the focusing on. But it was good though. Like I actually enjoyed it because it was like it was a really different take on the film and that. But yeah, no, I did actually enjoy it. You should definitely give it another go because like
I think I will. And I think if something keeps the spirit of the original, like with Dracula, I won't tell exactly how, but I tried to have nods to like my favorite quotes from Dracula are alluded to in the book, and I tried to keep the feel of Dracula so that if people love it, like I didn't change the trajectory of any of the main characters or anything, apart from maybe one. I kind of combined 2 characters in one case. But I think it's really important when you're retelling or remaking something that you kind of keep the feel of the original and like the things people loved about it. So if the series does that, I think I'll be fine. I think I was just really shocked that I was ready for the Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise version somehow in my head, and it obviously just wasn't that. Because Louis is kind of established in New Orleans society, but in a different way. And like I went to Ocala where they filmed the Interview with the Vampire movie, and it was so interesting because they did, you know, like where there's the whole thing of like with plantations, like people have weddings there and they don't kind of acknowledge what happened there. Ocala are really good. They take you, like you can stay. We stayed over on the property and stuff in like one of the cottages, and they do a tour where they kind of talk you through the history and like make you really aware of what people went through who worked and lived there, and like the history of slavery. So I think it's really good to kind of make people aware and raise, you know, it's not just like a glamorous place that you can do an event. Like actually, you know, really bad stuff happened here. I think Ocala is an amazing place to visit, that they kind of do a balance of showing you that this is a beautiful property where somebody lived, but also it has a dark history. And I think that fed in nicely to Interview with the Vampire too, that I was obviously thinking Interview with the Vampire in my mind, but then also kind of learning about the past of this place. But yeah, I don't know whether Ocala or like similar features in the series or not, because obviously Louis isn't the same character quite, is he?
Yeah. No, yeah, he's like it's hard to describe it, but yeah, I'd say give it another watch. You will.
Yeah, I will.
But right, so now we will move on to Buffy for a little bit. Well, I still got you.
Yeah.
Right, so first off, do you know what? The last time I did like a full stream on Buffy, we both agreed we're going to do an hour. And then it ended up being 3 hours.
Yeah, I can see why that might happen.
Yeah, we only got through the movie, the unaired pilot in season 1. And that was it. And we showed a bit of our collection off, and that was it. And it lasted 3 hours, and I was like, what the hell happened to an hour? I was like, what the hell? I was like, it just kept going and going.
It's the love of Buffy. And I think when I meet somebody in real life and I find that they're a Buffy fan, I'm like, this is just a shortcut to friendship. Like, I feel like if somebody likes Buffy, they're a sound person generally. And I don't think I've been proven wrong yet.
Well, we're getting on all right. So it's all right.
Yeah, we are. It's all good.
Right. So my first question is, what do you think of the movie?
Do you know what? I watched the series first, and then I discovered that there was a movie, and I was like, "Oh, amazing! A movie!" It's not the same thing. It's camp and it's ridiculous. And I mean, Pee Wee Herman is just like a scene-stealing he's dynamic. Yeah, honestly, he's amazing. So I think it's like Into the Vampire, right? If you can see it as a different thing, like to me, it's not the Buffy that I know, but I do really like it. I think it's got a totally different vibe, and you can see what Joss Whedon was doing with it. I think like you can see him exploring this girl who appears really superficial on the surface, and he called her Buffy very deliberately and made her blonde very deliberately, that he wanted to feed into kind of Hollywood and society's portrayal of women. So I think that a lot of that, you can see the first steps of Buffy, but I think that the TV show ultimately works a lot better. But I still rewatch the movie and I still find it really fun. And I love Luke Perry. I think he's great in it. I kind of wish we'd got him in the TV show, like, you know, like if Pike had kind of done a cameo like Buffy's past coming back. I think that would have been cool. But I think they wanted to keep the TV show quite separate, apart from they allude to the stuff that Buffy did in the past, you know, like that she's burned. I think they mentioned she burned down a gym because it was full of asbestos. And then they kind of move on, don't they? And I don't think they mention. I think it mentions that she'd lost her previous watcher. But yeah, they kind of. I think they keep it secret. How about you? What separate even? What do you think of the movie?
Do you know what? Right. Well, I actually watched because I watched this movie. Well, I suppose my pet, like our dad, like let me watch anything when I was little. So I was watching horrors like at the age of like 5, 6. So I was like, but I actually watched this movie back in 93, 94.
Okay.
So I would have been about 6, 7, something like that. So I pretty much that's all I had for Buffy for like until it came out in 97. So like, but like it's pretty much a full. Like, I pretty much watch it every year. Like as a Like, just it's a comfort movie for me because like I just like, like I've watched it that like for that long. Like I've had that like, because when it came out, like obviously there was that 5-year gap between the film and the series. So like that's all I knew. Well, I actually do like it because of if they'd lost that bit of campiness, it could have actually been like a good film because you could see some of the things in it, like that at the beginning where it's in the past, where they're at the tavern. That like they could have just made a full thing around that, like in that little village. But where he gets killed at the fairground and where he gets dragged over the cliff, there are some like dark elements to the film. But like you just gotta love the campiness of it as well. Like when you watch it now, it's like pure cheese, but it's like but in a good way.
I mean, one of my favorite films is Lost Boys, and I rewatched it recently with my brother and his girlfriend, and they've watched it before, but not as many times as I have, and it was so funny. I just had to sit and bite my tongue all the way through because I was just wanting to like sing along with the songs and quote whole lines of dialogue and stuff, and I had to just not keep saying, "Oh, this bit's really good." I was like, I'm just gonna let them enjoy the film. But that for me, I watch Lost Boys probably once or twice a year. And I reckon maybe my second favourite film.
Well, what's your first?
Fight Club.
Fight Club?
Yeah, honestly, I can watch Fight Club over and over again and still get new things out of it. I just think it is amazingly acted. The script, like the twist at the end. I remember, I mean, you've watched it, I assume. I'm not going to I'm not going to spoil it to the public, but when I saw the twist, I was like shocked for about 3 days afterwards. I can still remember going to school and being like, I'm not okay today. I'm still thinking about watching Fight Club last night. I watched it. I think I was about 15, 16 when it came out on video. Like I didn't see it at the cinema. And I remember talking to my English teacher about it, like saying, "Sir, have you seen Fight Club?" And he was like, "Yes." Oh my goodness. Yeah, it had such an impression on me. I'd love to write something like that one day that is so mind melting and does it just so well. Like it totally took me in.
Do you know what? Funny you should mention the Lost Boys because in October I'm going to a horror convention called For the Love of Horror. Have you heard of it?
Do you know what? Yeah, I keep looking at that. And are some of the cast from Lost Boys there?
Yeah, not this year. They've made it all Scream this year. Like it's the first time I'm going. That they did the Lost Boys about 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Where like they had the full cast there. But yeah, it's going to be all Scream related. So like I've booked in a like. You've got. Do you watch Scream or have you seen?
Yeah,
do you watch
it is my favorite horror. The first Scream film is my favorite horror film of all time.
Yeah. So up to now, like the screencast they've got Matthew Lillard, Skeet Aldridge, Jamie Kennedy, the Sheriff, Sheriff Judy, and that's up to now, like the Scream side of it, I think. But then they've got like loads of other from like Terrifier and Scary Movie and loads of other people going. But and they've got Nick Castle. He's going to be there, and a few of them are people. But that was it. The Lost Boys. So Tim Capello, he's there every year. So and he does the after parties with I Still Believe and on the stage and everything. And so I've paid to get my picture and autograph with him because
cool.
I found a Lost Boys soundtrack in a charity shop for 50p. So I'm going to get him to sign that.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so hopefully if he's got no one around him, I'm going to try and get him on my channel, like just ask him a couple of questions if he's got a spare few minutes, but hopefully he's not going to be too, I hope so anyway. That's my plan. If it doesn't go well,
I mean, you can only ask people like that. Literally, I've ended up interviewing like some of my favorite authors just because I've just asked. Like, you've got nothing to lose, I think, by doing stuff like that. They're just normal people, aren't they, who want to talk about the stuff that they have been part of as well. So yeah, I just go for it. You can only say no.
So what drew you into the TV show then? Like, obviously, it came out on Sky One in America. It came out in America. And then we had to wait pretty much like a full year for it to come out on BBC Two over here.
Yeah. So I was decorating the Christmas tree, and my mum just had put the TV on, and I love decorating the Christmas tree. And I just sat down, and it was the witch episode, so I'd missed the first couple of episodes, and I was like, what is this? This is just it just came from nowhere for me. Like, there was no Smallville, there was no Supernatural, like all the stuff that followed Buffy that leans into the vibes of it. It was just so new and fresh. And I was, I think, 13 when it came out in the UK, maybe 14. So I was just the age, like I wanted to be Buffy, I wanted to date Angel. Like, I was so invested in those characters and their story. And it was like, say, Willow coming out, it was the first time I'd seen like a lesbian in a TV show, and like I had friends who were kind of exploring similar things and similar feelings, and then for them to see things being played out on TV that was so meaningful and so current, it was just really special. And I think even now I watch it, and part of it is nostalgia, but I just get those same feelings. Like, it is just an incredible cast, incredibly written and put together, and like the music and the whole vibe and the bronze, like it's just all of it. Like, it grabbed me immediately, and I've never had any point where I found a TV show and gone, do you know what, that's as good as Buffy. Like, Buffy is still just, I can say, you know, like the Vampire Diaries, I like it a lot, and I like Angel a lot, and I like Supernatural a lot, but like there's just nothing as good as Buffy to me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same on that one. That's the thing though, like when the first 2 episodes came out on BBC Two, it was like a double back to back.
Yeah.
And then, so like when did it come out? I think it was like a Thursday night it came out. I was just sat there like after school, and I was just watching, because like obviously I knew what the show, like the movie. Obviously I spent years watching the movie, so I knew. Well, I didn't know what to expect in the series, but like I knew like who the pet, like what the premise was. But yeah, after that I was hooked. Like, that got me hooked straight away. Like, because for me, my favorite season is number 1. Like,
yeah, I mean, a lot of people
hate it, but
a lot of people say it's dated, right? But it isn't. It's of its time. And I think the first moments of episode 1, where Darla breaks into the school with the boy, and she's wearing the schoolgirl outfit, and she's very kind of pure and worried about getting into trouble, and then she turns on him. I just think that is such a good mission statement for Buffy, like subverting stereotypes and subverting expectations, and kind of playing into, like, you know, you're convinced it's going to be the boy who's the vampire, and it's the sweet, innocent little blonde. And I think that they did that really well. The Buffy like creators just knew what they were doing. They were like, the whole high school is hell and it's about surviving it. Like, I think they just absolutely perfected that formula.
Yeah, like I've always said, like in previous videos, like I've always said, my favorite season is number 1, but my favorite episodes is the Hellmouth and Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest. They're like my 2, because like because I love like how everyone gets introduced, and then like how it all happens at the Bronze and everything like after that. And one of the scenes I actually do enjoy is where Buffy and Giles are in the Bronze, and she tells them about the harvest, and like he's like shocked to thinking, what does that mean? Like, that's stuff like that. Like, that's probably one of my favorite characters is probably Giles. Like, on the research side of it all, I think that's where because in the episode where they're on about the invisible girl, and he's like looking through the Vishnu books, and he talks about the codex, and Angel says, "Oh, I can get it," and then like I just love how excited he gets about prophecies and all that kind of thing. But that's
I think when I first watched it, I didn't relate to Giles at all. You know, like, he's an adult man. He's like the grown-up of the group. And now watching, I'm like, oh man, I am Giles. Like, you know, coveting beautiful books and doing, I mean, I spend hours doing research into stuff. And I've become a reader at the British Library recently, so I can go and use their research materials. And at some point, I'm going to go and I'm just going to be like, right, lay all the vampire stuff on me, give it to me. And I'm just going to spend a day like looking at all their old books on vampires. Like, I love it. And I think that it's so relatable to me now, that like Giles's character, like that would be me. Like, if I was anybody in the Buffyverse, I wouldn't be the brave one with the weapons and the fighting skill. I would be the person hiding in, you know, the book's cage, giving the information of how to survive.
Yeah, it was when because like obviously I made like a few months ago I made a fan. I don't know if you might have watched it yet. The fan edited version of the Buffy. So the episodes I had was Welcome to the Hellmouth, The Harvest, Prophecy Girl, and The Wish, like all combined into one episode. So my idea around that was to make it like a proper dark episode, because even though Buffy is like the main star of it, the episode's on for 29 minutes and she's only in it for 6. So like she comes right in at the end because I wanted it to focus on, like, because she didn't turn up to Sunnydale when she was meant to. The full town's just gone to hell because of the harvest actually coming to prophecy, like, true. And because I wanted to focus it on like that research part of Giles, like, and because she never turned up, that actually happened, to making it Sunnydale into a proper hellhole for vampires. So, and then when she wakes up,
I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds fun.
Oh well, I'll spoil it for you.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind.
That's fine. So, I mean, obviously you've watched Buffy, so you know what's coming. So at the end of the Wish episode, where the Master kills Buffy, so that's pretty much the end of the episode. But then, as she gets killed, Buffy wakes up at the beginning of the first episode, like where she's like, "Oh, Buffy, you're going to be late for school. It's your first day." But my interpretation on that, like the full episode, was, how can I put it? Was it a dream? Was it just all a dream, or was it a premonition of things to come? Because Slayers do get premonitions, like future events. So like it could, I was trying to like interpret it either way you can take it. So just another
That's fun. But the nice thing is with Buffy is, like, you know, it's completed apart from, you know, this exciting reboot news that we've got.
Oh yeah,
but
you can kind of,
you can, quite a lot of it's open to interpretation. Like, you know, there was the episode, I can't remember the name of it now, where Buffy is institutionalized and she's kind of thinks that she's like, yes. No. Yeah, like, it is wild that could be what the whole of Buffy, like, the whole of Buffy is just a fever dream.
That wasn't it, like, because was it realised Sunnydale like a full just in a red? It was like that was left out to like interpretation. That one, like, I see people like still saying now, like, is it Sunnydale just all in a red, or is it real, or what is that?
Yeah, I just think it's genius. There's so many episodes of Buffy, like you mentioned, The Wish. That's one of my favorites. Like, it's just groundbreaking television. Like Hush and Once More with Feeling. Like, other people have tried to do musical episodes, and I'm sure other people have tried to do like silent episodes. Like, there was a silent episode of Buffy Buffy Bluey this morning. I was like, oh yeah, just like Buffy. Like, it really, like, I think it laid the groundwork for so much really good TV, and Buffy just did it first and did it best.
Yeah. Right. So, favorite season. What would your favorite season be?
Oh, it's so. Do you know what? It's so hard because I love most of it. There's parts of season 7 that I hate violently, but I think that, you know, they're for a reason. Like how Buffy was treated and stuff, just really got under my skin. But probably season 6 because of it was the season.
The trio.
Yeah. I mean, they're not my favorite villains. They are ridiculous. I just think the whole vibe of season 6, the fact that the series could have ended at the end of season 5, which I think was one of the original intentions.
Yeah.
And the fact that they kind of reinvented and brought her back, I found really interesting. And the fact that Buffy was quite kind of broken down when she came back and needed to build herself up and find herself again. I think that a lot of interesting things happened. And I love Spike. So that season for me was kind of what I'd been craving, like Buffy and Spike, like finally gravitating to each other. And it goes in a direction at some points that I didn't like, but overall I think it's a really good season. And there's some like heartbreaking episodes in it. And then there's some really funny ones, like Once More with Feeling and Tabula Rasa, I think, is an episode pairing and just absolutely amazing. Like, if I need cheering up, I sit and watch those 2 back to back, and then I'm like better. Tabula Rasa has some of the best dialogue. And it's one of the writers who I think it's Rebecca Ann Kirshner, who I haven't seen her like on my other kind of favourite episodes. It tends to be written by other people. And she, as the lead writer, like some of Spike's dialogue just makes me laugh even thinking about it. Like when he figures out his English, it's comedy gold. And he thinks that Giles is his dad. Like you can't, can't improve that. Randy Giles? I'm not going to say the next line, but yeah. You get the picture.
Yeah, cup of tea. So what? When they announced that they were doing a musical episode, did you expect it the way it was going to go?
Do you know what? I did it totally wrong. So I always used to go to Blockbusters, and I was a bit behind with Buffy. I think we didn't have Sky, so at one point I kind of lost track of Buffy. I think it was around season 5. And I'd not seen any of season 6. And I found this DVD called Once More with Feeling. And I was like, oh, a Buffy one-off. This won't spoil the series for me at all. So I watched Once More with Feeling and I was like, oh, I've missed quite a bit of Buffy. So I didn't know about it. I didn't know it was a musical episode. So when it came on, I was like, what is happening? And Buffy was dead. And now I was so confused. So I didn't know. Like, I didn't know it was, I don't know, because of how society was back then. It was like pre-social media and stuff. Like some stuff like I just didn't hear about. So it completely came from nowhere for me. And I did the same with is it called The Becoming, the end of season 2, parts 1 and 2?
Yeah.
I think at that point I was watching it on season 2 and they got it in Blockbuster. I was watching on channel 2 and they got it in Blockbuster like before those episodes had aired, and I watched it out of order and came downstairs sobbing, and my mum was like, what has happened? I was like, I can't even explain it. It's too sad. I don't know. I was totally out of the loop then. Like now, I think it's really easy to find information, isn't it? Like about the reboot, I'm like following any little nugget they give us. But back then I was just surprised by everything.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about, the reboot. Like, so obviously it's been announced Sarah Michelle Gellar's going to be in it herself. She recently announced, I think it was the other day actually, that she wants to bring like all the old cast back dead and alive. So how do you think they're going to manage to pull that off?
I mean, there's so many ways in Buffy, isn't there? There's like the kind of multiverse thing, and there's the alt U thing. Like the Audible series kind of went full alt universe, didn't they? And they were like, yeah, we're just gonna bring some alternative multiverse people in who have died. So they could do that. They can. I mean, they've got the whole dimensions thing going on in Buffy, haven't they? So they may explore that a little bit more. It could just be like spells. They can get away with a lot on Buffy, like Willow casts a spell. And it kind of, it fixes everything or it ruins everything. So I don't know. And the thing is with me, like I heard that they're doing a Lost Boys musical movie, and my first thought was, oh no. And the same with The Crow. I don't know whether it's true or not, whether it's one of those, like The Crow, when I heard that was announced, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not watching that. I watched the advert and went, no, I'm okay. The Crow still is the original one to me. So I think I always treat stuff like this with a bit of trepidation. But with Buffy, I was like, actually, Sarah Michelle Gellar's involved, and they've got a really cool director. And the young kind of vibrant, enthusiastic, up-and-coming person that they've cast to be a new Slayer. I was like, oh, all of this feels promising. And anytime anybody asks James Masters, he's like, what? Buffy reboot? No, I'm not allowed to talk about this. And I'm like, ooh, okay. This is promising, because Kendara Blake got around that quite nicely, and I don't know whether this was her thinking, let me see if I can get Spike in the TV show, because I think she knew about the TV show before we did. I got the impression when I talked to her about the reboot, she wasn't surprised. I was like, is this like being in with Disney Hyperion? Did you have a little bit of insight there? And she knew some stuff about it before it was announced, but didn't tell me because she's very sensible. We talked about it afterwards, and she has Spike. I don't know if you've read those books, but Spike, I won't spoil it, but basically at one point Spike has a spell on him to make him look older, and he's really miffed because he's not like young and handsome anymore, and everybody's kind of laughing at him and stuff, that he's like, because obviously he doesn't look age appropriate for Buffy anymore, but he kind of does because of the spell. And I was like, oh, did they get Kendara to put that in there just as like a little like Spike can be in it, but he's either become human or he's been aged because of a spell. And it's just funny his reaction every time anybody asks him. Like, I feel like if you weren't at all involved, you'd just go, "Oh, I'm not involved." But he just looks terrified. Anybody like, I'm gonna get sued. Don't ask me about this.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, saying that, do you think like at the beginning of the first episode, will they do like a mention Dawn like as a remembrance? Like,
You know
Michelle
what? It's really sad, isn't it? Like, will they write in as that as something that has happened? I don't know. And also Faith, I think, is pretty adamant that she's not an actress anymore. And I don't know how they'll handle stuff like that. Like, I think quite a lot of the cast would be tempted to come back just because it was such a big part of their careers and such a moment for them. But if they've moved on from it, and like some of them, I don't think had, you know, good experiences on the set of Buffy from the sound of it. So I don't know. And I think particularly with Dawn, like it's just, I was just so sad when that happened. Like, you know, it was.
Yeah, I think it caught everyone off guard, didn't it?
Yeah, I can't even talk about it. So yeah, I'd like to think that they would kind of do something like, I don't know, it's hard to know how to do it in the most like poignant way for her memory. I think that they'll do something with that because Dawn is in Kendara's books, because they're set, I think, I don't know how many years into the future, but certainly, you know, Willow and other characters who I won't spoil if anybody hasn't read them are, you know, adults like my age-ish now. So, and Dawn she's not in it much, but she's there. So it's a hard one because I don't know whether Kendara's books are considered canon or whether they're like just an alternative version.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how much the TV show will play into what happens in those books either. So it'll be interesting to watch. I don't know when it's meant to come out. Do you?
Well, I still think they're in like just developing it. I think so. I don't think it'll be for maybe another 2 to 3 years at least.
Yeah, possibly.
Because like
a long time to wait.
Yeah, because they've only announced like Buffy and the main like the new Slayer, and then I don't think they've announced anyone else. So like obviously they're gonna have to like do all casting and then develop the show, get the locations, and so I don't think it'll be like, I know everyone's excited, but I don't think it'll be for like another 2 to 3 years before it gets made.
Yeah, it's an interesting decision to announce it now. I assume that's because they're going into development, so they need a bit of a profile for it, you know, to get things done and to get producers involved and stuff. Like they need to go pull it. But yeah, from a fan point of view, it's like, oh man, in a way I'd rather not know because now I've got to wait for it.
Just announce it the day before and then just premiere it.
I mean, the thing is though, with the internet, I think they probably wanted to take ownership of the narrative too, and like, because stuff gets leaked so easily now, I think it's almost like, let's leak it ourselves before somebody else does and kind of gets it all wrong. Like they've been very much in control of what they've released. I think the only thing that kind of got out before they wanted it to was they did like casting calls for characters and stuff. So I think that some of the stuff that they were asking for, people have then put on the internet and said, well, you know, they want this kind of character and this kind of character. So what does that mean for the show? I'm not obsessively like trolling the internet to find information about it, but I am following as I see stuff. I'm following with interest.
Yeah. But there's another thing, like, will Sarah Michelle Gellar be like in it full time, or should be just in the first episode?
I'd like to think it's not. Yeah, it sounds like she's not just in a kind of passing the torch capacity. I feel like she might be a watcher or something like that. And I think, but I don't think she's going to be a massive role. Maybe that's my instinct. I think they'll center the teenage story a bit like they did with Giles. Really, like he does get his own storylines at times, but I think by and large he was like a supporting cast member, wasn't he? A lot of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Buffy's stories were centered and the high school experience was centered. So I think they'll probably do that again. But I don't know. And like, how will the modern lens and like the modern kind of things that can be a bit problematic for authors, like mobile phones and the internet, Like, how will that play into it? Because I know that came into the later Buffy, but that makes it really hard if you're writing a mystery or horror. It's like, I'm just going to ring the police and then everything's fine.
Yeah, like, but meaning to keep like all these demons secret and everyone's just on the phone, like watching them fight.
Yeah, no. Like, how do you keep it secret? You can't just go gang related PCP if everybody's filming it and live streaming it on their phones.
Yes, that'll be interesting.
Which is why I set stuff in the 80s and the 90s because there's no mobile phone problem. Like, I remember I interviewed Goldie Moldavsky about this, and there was a scene where it was snowy, and she was like, "Oh man." The main character really would just ring the police here or ring her parents and ask them to pick her up. And she's like, "Oh no, my phone, I've dropped it in the snow and now it doesn't work." And she's like, the whole book for her was just about trying to write the mobile phone out of it. That would have ruined everything, that somebody would have filmed a crime being committed or somebody would have been able to call for help. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how modern, and also, are the Dusty books going to feature, or is it just you just Google it?
Yeah, or virtual like laptop, like tablets and iPhones, and yeah, there won't be much use for a library, will there? If everyone's just on computers, like. So
I mean, I feel like there's certain stuff that probably like you do need the books, because the thing with the internet, as we know, is there's loads of rubbish on there and things that aren't right. And like if you Googled how to kill a vampire, you'd be getting the whole wealth of like pop culture. You wouldn't just be getting the kind of factual stuff. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with modern society, like whether they just pretend it doesn't exist or whether they like lean into it.
Do you know what would be a good idea for the first, if it's set like back in high school? This would actually be a good idea. So if it's set back in high school, and she, you know, like she's a slayer, and like everyone's on like the laptops and now, like, and then there's like this massive town internet crash.
Yeah.
And then they have to go to the library to do research on something, and then that introduces Buffy being in the library, and then they meet that way.
It does sound like something that could happen in Sunnydale, right? Some like tremendous force comes from the Hellmouth and just like knocks all the internet out. I mean, the Hellmouth is kind of closed, isn't it? But is it like?
Have to rebuild Sunnydale. I mean, it's been over 20 years. Have they rebuilt a full town on top of it?
Yeah, I mean, in Kendara's books, they had a take on it, and then in the Audible series, they had a take on it again. So yeah, I don't know what's real anymore and what's canon and what's other people's interpretations. So I think they will probably do their own thing with it. And there's been that much other stuff like comics and, you know, fan speculation. I think they've just got to carve their own path. I've just realized what time it is, so if that's okay, we might need to like wrap this up, but maybe we can pick it up at another point. We can delve more into Buffy.
Yeah, I was pretty much at the end of it anyway. There was only like just show them collection bits behind you. That was it. That's all you left.
Oh yeah, if you want to see so I put these here just because they're one of my favorite things. I got this one pretty recently. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's an Angel episode called Smile Time where Angel's turned into a puppet, and this is Vampire Angel puppet. There is a battle scarred Angel, which I don't have. I'm trying not to spend any more money. Then this is the normal Angel. I mean, look at him. He's got a little leather jacket and everything. And then Spike wasn't a puppet, but some genius decided that we needed a Spike puppet because, of course, we did. So I got the Spike one too. So yeah, I do have a massive Buffy collection upstairs. It's on my YouTube channel, my TikTok and stuff, if anybody wants to see it. But I just thought, since I'm filming down here, I'd get some little bits to show you.
I know. I am actually really jealous that you have the library.
I've had that since I was a teenager. I don't know. Well, teenager or early 20s. They had it in Forbidden Planet. And I'd gone to London for the weekend and I saw it, and it was in this absolutely massive box, which I think I still have. And we went to the cinema and I had to just sit with it on the floor. It was this tiny little cinema, like with my feet on top of the Buffy box, like keeping it safe. And there was just no room. And yeah, a lot of people ask me where I got that. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, Forbidden Planet. Like they don't sell it anymore there. It's just a nice place to it was really cheap too, I think, at the time. I don't think they're cheap now. I think it was like £30 or £40 or something. Yeah,
they're a fortune now. It's like, that's the one, because I do remember seeing that in a Forbidden Planet as well, like in my town. And I was like, oh, I'm not paying that. And then like now I'm like,
Yeah, there's certain bits of merch. Like I will get the battle scarred angel puppet at some point, but apart from that, I think I've got most of what I want, and I just buy stuff as I see it. So I see like somebody on Facebook who lives quite near me put a load of statues on recently for really good prices, like 30-40 pound each, and I just bought them all. It's like I don't really have any spare money right now, but I'm just going to buy them because I'm not going to see anything like this again. And I just went like with a wad of cash, like, take my money, give me the Buffy. And she gave me one of the angel puppets. I think she only charged me like, I think, oh, it was the human angel. I think it was £100 or less, and online they're an absolute fortune for the human angel. I got the vampire one when it came out and the spike one. Like I pre-ordered them and everything. So those were brand new back in the day. But yeah, I'd never managed to find the human angel. So I was she just wanted to get rid of all this Buffy stuff. And I was like, take my money. I will take all your merch. So that's the way I get most of my stuff. Like I just buy it secondhand. Because unfortunately they don't really make a lot of it now. They might do. I hope that the merch is good for the new series.
That was going to be my other question. Like the new merch, like what do you think the new merch would look like? Would we get new Buffy figures? We get new
it'd be so. I would love a new Buffy figure, and like to not make her look really young, like to make her look the age that she is. I think is really important. Because you see all this stuff online of like people like the AI things where they like age people up, and then try and make Sarah Michelle look really young, and it's like, but she isn't. Like she's lived a full life and had an amazing career. I kind of hope that we get like actual figures that look like they do now and busts and stuff. Like really go to town if they did like everything, like prop jewelry and things. Like you could prop stakes. I would buy it all. I absolutely would. And I think that there's going to be 2 generations of Buffy fans now, isn't there? There's the new people that have not seen it before, and then there's the kind of people like us who've been there from the start, and we'll just eat it up, and hopefully it'll be really good.
Yeah, right. Well, that's it. That is the end of our stream. That's pretty much everything I've had to go through with you. So I just want to say a big thank you for coming on today and talking about your love of writing and being an author and love of Buffy and everything. So thank you so much for just taking an hour out your time and just talking to me for a bit.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun. As you can tell, I love talking about Buffy. I could do it all day, but I have school uniforms to buy right now, so I'm going to go and do that.
No, I'll let you get going.
Thank you.
But yeah, like sometime in the future, we'll get back on and we'll discuss more Buffy and everything like that.
Talk about Scream too. I'd love to do like a Scream deep dive at some point as well.
It's fine by me. If you want to do that, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much, and I will see you later.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
And there she's gone. That was my full interview with author Amy McCaw. Thank you so much for joining me on this live interview. I've had an amazing time chatting with you, and hopefully we will be doing another one sometime in the future on Buffy and Scream as she wanted to, so I'm more than happy to do that. As always, I am Adwood Movie Mania. Please leave your likes and comments, please subscribe. Look forward to more live interviews in the future, and I will see you later.